From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. Many people have dreamed of being able to fly as simply as riding a bicycle. Over the past 10 years, developments in technology have moved the dream of personal flying vehicles closer to reality. Now, two groups of inventors say such vehicles may be available very soon. The British company Malloy Aeronautics has developed a prototype or model of its flying bicycle. The company says its hoverbike is a personal flying vehicle. Grant Stapleton is the marketing sales director of Malloy Aeronautics. He says the hoverbike is able to get in and out of small spaces very quickly. Mr. Stapleton says safety was the company's main concern when developing the hoverbike. He says the designers solved the safety issue by using overlapping rotors to power the vehicle. He says the power comes from adducted propellers, blades that turn quickly and cause the vehicle to move in enclosed spaces. Inventors say their hoverbike will most likely be used first by the military, police, and emergency rescue teams. In New Zealand, the Martin Aircraft Company is also testing a full-scale version of its personal flying device called Jetpack. It can fly for more than 30 minutes, up to 1,000 meters high, and reach a speed of 74 kilometers per hour. Peter Coker is the Chief Executive Officer of Martin Aircraft Company. He says Jetpack is built around safety from the start. Jetpack uses a gasoline-powered engine that produces two powerful jet streams. Mr. Coker says it also has a parachute that can be used in an emergency. It will be available to buy in 2016 and cost about $200,000. For VOA Learning English, I'm Jonathan Evans.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. A new report shows that nearly 1 million international students are studying at U.S. universities. They are among the more than 20 million students at all U.S. universities. This is the highest number of international students on record since 1954. International students added more than $30 billion to the U.S. economy in the past year. The report is called Open Doors. Every year, the U.S. Department of State and the Institute of International Education, or the IIE, work together to gather this information. IIE studies and supports international student exchange. The report says China sent the most students than any other country, more than 30,000 to study in the U.S. in 2015. That is an increase of 10.8% from last year. India sent the second largest number of students to the U.S., more than 130,000. Saudi Arabia had the fourth highest number of students at 59,945. That is an increase from last year of 11.2%. Kuwait increased its number of students by 24%. Both countries' governments have programs that pay for some of their students to study in other countries. Brazil sent more than 20,000 students to the U.S. That is 79% more than in 2014. Evan Ryan is the Assistant Secretary of State for Educational and Cultural Affairs for the U.S. Department of State. She says that international student exchanges make stronger connections between countries. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Prasuti.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. American language experts have chosen they as the 2015 Word of the Year. The American Dialect Society, or ADS, voted on the issue at a conference in Washington. They is a plural pronoun. For years, people speaking English have used it as a singular pronoun. For example, I am meeting a friend for coffee, and I hope they are not late. The correct use, however, is as a third-person plural pronoun. For example, when I meet my school friends for coffee, they are always late. Ben Zimmer writes about language for the Wall Street Journal. He says there has been a lot of debate recently about something that has been in our language for centuries. He explains that English does not have a third-person singular pronoun that does not identify as male or female. Zimmer says that more and more, they is being used to replace the traditional phrase, he or she. For example, they is used for people who identify as transgender. When former Olympic athlete Bruce Jenner took a female identity last year, he changed his name to Caitlyn Jenner. The new use of they would replace he, and the word their would replace his. For example, they changed their name to Caitlyn Jenner. ADS President Alan Metcalf says, people have argued about the use of a singular they for more than 100 years. And he says, 100 years from now, people will still be debating it. Metcalf says the decision for the word of the year is not based on science. Instead, he says, the ADS chooses from words that express the concerns and stories of the past year. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ana Mateo.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Health Report. Researchers say they have identified a gene that can predict if you will have gray hair. The gene IRF4 was found and studied from the genetic codes of more than 6,300 people from Brazil, Colombia, Chile, Mexico, and Peru. The group included people of mixed European, Native American, and African ancestries. The IRF4 gene controls melanin production, which is responsible for the color of hair, skin, and eyes. Andres Ruiz Linares is a professor of human genetics at University College, London. He is the paper's lead author. He and his team identified a special gene found in about 15% of people with European ancestry. The people who carry this gene are more likely to have early gray hair. The researchers found that Native Americans do not carry this gene. The researchers say that gray hair is not influenced just by genetics. Stress or a terrible event can also contribute to a gray head of hair. The researchers say this study could be helpful to developers of hair care products. It could lead to treatments that may prevent or reverse the process that turns hair gray. The study also identified genes for other hair qualities. These included curly hair, beard, and eyebrow thickness. Ruiz Linares says linking genes to hair qualities is important. He says it could lead to better analysis of genetic information collected at crime scenes. The journal Nature Communications published the study. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Health Report. Health experts estimate that about 400 million people are infected with hepatitis. Viral hepatitis infections kill nearly 1 million people a year. The majority of cases are in Asia and in African countries south of the Sahara. A vaccine and treatment for some forms of hepatitis are now available, but they can be costly. The World Health Organization says the high cost of drugs is one big problem in fighting hepatitis. Another problem is that most people living with hepatitis do not know they are infected. There are 5 different hepatitis viruses: A, B, C, D, and E. All 5 cause inflammation of the liver. The organ can become large and painful. Hepatitis A and E are spread through infectious waste in food or water. These forms of the disease cause acute infection. However, most people recover. The best way to prevent hepatitis A is by getting a vaccination. But the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has yet to approve a vaccine for hepatitis E. It is usually found in countries with polluted water supplies and poor waste treatment systems. Hepatitis B and hepatitis C can be the most serious. These 2 viruses are responsible for 80% of all liver cancer deaths. You can get hepatitis B from sexual contact, or by sharing needles and syringes. They are used to inject drugs. Hepatitis B is common worldwide. The best way to prevent hepatitis B is by getting vaccinated. Hepatitis C is spread mainly through sharing drug needles and syringes. There is no vaccine for hepatitis C. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball. From VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. Akila Asifi, who fled to Pakistan as a young woman, has spent her life teaching other Afghan refugees. Now, at 49, she has won the 2015 UNHCR Nansen Refugee Award. Ms. Asifi faced many problems in Afghanistan before she fled to Pakistan. Resources were limited and education for women was discouraged. However, in Pakistan, the 49-year-old was able to bring change to her conservative Afghan community. She persuaded parents to send their daughters to school in a tent at the Kot Chandana refugee village. Since then, Ms. Asifi has guided more than 1,000 refugee girls through their primary education. She told VOA that she could not imagine that she would one day win this award. There are almost 1.5 million recorded Afghan refugees in Pakistan. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees says. Nearly half are school-aged children, but most do not attend school. Ms. Asifi was a teacher in Kabul when she fled with her family in 1992. At first, she taught in her tent. Her tent school has led to the opening of several permanent schools in the village. UNHCR's Nansen Refugee Award honors extraordinary service to people who have been forced from their homes. The 2015 award ceremony will be held on October 5th in Geneva. The award will provide Ms. Asifi with $100,000 to help pay for her education projects. Ms. Asifi is the mother of 6 children. The Afghan teacher hopes her home country becomes better known for higher levels of education instead of war. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball. For VOA Learning English, this is the Education Report. The United States Department of Education says white and Asian students continued to do better on tests than Black and Latino students. The department's 2015 Nations Report Card shows a long-lasting education gap between racial groups in the United States. Marcelo Suarez Orozco is an education professor at the University of California in Los Angeles. He says that Latino and Black students face financial difficulties and other challenges that can prevent them from succeeding in their studies. He says students from lower income families in the U.S. are more likely to miss class because of health problems such as asthma and tooth decay. Suarez Orozco says one reason for the education gap is low attendance rates in primary and secondary schools. Transportation problems and difficult home environments are other factors. As students miss more classes, they become less likely to score well on tests and graduate from high school. Ken O'Donnell is California State University's Senior Director of Student Engagement. He says poverty, language, legal status, and race are all factors that add to an achievement gap that continues into college. He says the achievement gap can have serious effects. Students who are not prepared for college are more likely to leave school, or they might take longer to graduate. This means that they may never receive the benefits of a college degree. For VOA Learning English, I'm Ann Ball.